Hi guys, Wheelie here. Today I'm turning this boring charger cable into something much prettier. Check it out. This cable cover is done in two parts. First, crochet around the cord and add in little loops at the points you want the leaves to be. Then crochet the leaves onto those loops. I'm going to show you a pattern for a small leaf and a pattern for a large leaf and give you some tips on how you can get the most variety out of those two patterns. I came up with this design as I was decorating a 20-meter cable for my brother, and I basically added in a leaf or two whenever I got bored of single crocheting. When I use this design to cover phone charger cables, I like to scatter the leaves randomly over the length of the cord. Sometimes I cluster a lot of leaves together and sometimes I space them out evenly. You can't go wrong. It always looks good, and you can completely change the look of the cable by arranging the leaves differently. I am going to give you a suggestion for how you can arrange your leaves, but if you like to experiment, this is definitely the design to do it with. I would love to see how your cable turns out. If you're on Instagram, please tag me. If you're a crochet beginner and this method is a little too complicated, I have another charger cable pattern. The leaves are worked with the same piece of yarn as the cover. It is particularly gorgeous if you sew some flowers on afterward. I've put a link to that pattern in the description box and at the end of this video. For this project, you'll need two colours of DK yarn. I'm using this ombre brown for the cable and ombre green for the leaves. A cotton or cotton blend would be the best choice as it will wear better, but if you haven't crocheted around a cord before, you may find it easier to work with an acrylic, at least until you get comfortable. You'll need scissors, a needle for the tails, and your cord, of course, and crochet hooks. I'm using quite small crochet hooks. I have a 2.5mm hook to use for covering the cord and a 3.5mm hook for most of the leaves. I would usually use a 4mm hook with DK yarn, but I want to crochet tight small stitches in order to get really good coverage. I don't want the cover sliding around on the cord, and I don't want the white of the cord peeking through. The small hook helps with that. Acrylic yarn is usually softer and fluffier than cotton, so if you use acrylic, you will be able to use the recommended hook size or maybe half a size smaller. But if you use cotton, you might like to do what I've done and go for a smaller hook when you're covering the cord. I'm using a smaller hook for the leaves because I wanted them to have a bit more strength, and the smaller stitches give a more solid leaf. When I make the leaves, I'll give you another hint about hook size. The first step is to attach the yarn to the cord. Attach the yarn to this slightly wider part of the cable and get it sitting as close as possible to the bottom of the plug. If one end of your cable is wider than the other, start at the wider end. The first few stitches are the fiddliest part of this project. Crocheting around a cord is quite different from normal crochet, but when you get past working on this hard part of the cord and start working around the flexible cable, it gets easier. Pop a slip knot on your hook. There are a few ways to attach the yarn, so you can go your own way on this if you prefer, but today I'm going to slip stitch onto the cord. So grab the cable and position it so that the cord is on top of the yarn. Hold the yarn so it sits snugly against the plug, then yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. Now that the yarn is attached, it's time to start single crocheting. I'm going to work the first 10 or so stitches over this tail. I'll still need to sew the tail in at the end of the project to keep it secure, but working some stitches over it starts the process of sewing in the tail, and it will make your cord look a lot neater. Slip the hook under the cord. Make sure the tail is also between your hook and the cord. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook, and I use my thumb and my middle finger to push that stitch so it sits right against the base of the plug before I yarn over and pull through 2. And that's my first single crochet. I should be able to fit another 2 single crochets on this section of the cable. Slip the hook under the cord and make sure you're working over the tail. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. Push the stitches so they're tight together and against the plug. How many single crochets you can fit on this wider section of your cord will really depend on what kind of cord you have, but it's a good idea to fit as many single crochets on top of the wider part as you can. If your stitches slip down onto this flexible part of the cord, you won't be able to push them back up over that little ridge. If that happens, frog the stitch that has slipped down and redo it, trying to hold it in place so it stays up where it needs to be. 3 stitches is all I can fit on this bit of the cord, so that's the hard bit done for me. I'm going to keep single crocheting, but I'm working around the bendy bit of the cord now, and I'm not trying to keep my stitches from slipping down, so it is easier. I am still working over the tail, and after about every 3rd stitch, I'm going to stop and push my stitches back, compress them, so no little bits of the white cord will peek out. That's 3 stitches, so I'm going to stop and push the stitches together. And now I'll do another 3 stitches and then repeat that. I'll keep pushing the stitches back towards the plug so the cable will be really well covered. If you're working with acrylic, or if your stitches are a little looser, you might be able to push your stitches together less often, but I find that with cotton yarn and tight stitches, if you don't do it frequently, it is hard to push them together. See how there are gaps between the stitches before I compress them? That closes them up nicely, and it also means that it takes a lot more stitches to cover a cable than you might think. I like to scatter a mix of smaller and larger leaves along the length of the cord in a random, natural way, but you could also arrange the leaves more evenly. You may want to have lots of leaves or only a few. Think about where you want the leaves to go, because while we're single crocheting, we're going to add in the spots for the leaves with little leaf loops. I'm going to add my first leaf loop in after the 20th single crochet. If you're going to arrange your leaves in your own way, I suggest at least 15 single crochets before your first leaf. I'm going to do a few more single crochets off camera, then I'll come back and create the first leaf loop with you. I'm dropping the tail now. I only meant to work 10 stitches over it, but I did a few extra for luck. I'll see you in a moment. I've done 20 single crochets and I'm going to create my first leaf loop. It's very simple, just chain 6, and then slip stitch to the first chain. You only need to catch one loop of the chain, then yarn over and pull through the chain and pull through the loop on your hook to slip stitch. And that has created a small chain circle, which I'm calling a leaf loop. From here, I'm going to continue single crocheting. When you place the first single crochet after the loop, you'll probably notice that there's quite a gap. That isn't a problem. I'm going to do another couple of stitches. And now I have 3 stitches after my leaf loop. I'm going to compress them. And that has filled that gap in nicely. And you can see the leaf loop poking up there, just waiting for me to add a leaf. I'm going to add my second leaf loop in 10 single crochets after the first, so I have 7 more single crochets to do. I've found that now I've done a lot of these cords, I can use my hook to compress the stitches a little bit as I'm working, but I suspect I am still going to regret not actually stopping and pushing those stitches together with my fingers. Okay, I'm going to add my second leaf loop in. I chain 6. Then slip stitch to the first chain. Then work 10 single crochets. Before you get stuck into covering the rest of your cable, I suggest that after these 10 single crochets, you put this yarn aside for a moment, grab color 2 and work a couple of leaves. Once you've seen how the leaves look on the cable, you can go back to covering the cord, because then you should have a better idea of how you want to arrange the leaves. So here are the leaves. They're crocheted using a Tunisian crochet technique and they look good from both sides. They have this lovely vine leaf heart shape. You'll need your second color of yarn and the slightly larger crochet hook. While I only use 2 patterns for the leaves, if you'd like to, you can have more size variation in your leaves than that suggests. While I suggested you use your slightly larger hook for the leaves, and while I do make most of my leaves with the 3.5mm hook I showed you at the beginning, I also like to make a few with the hook I use to cover the cord, and if I have other hooks hanging around, I might use other sizes too. It isn't drastic, just a few millimeters difference either way, but I like the subtle size variations I get. You might like to try switching up the hook sizes too. I've got my color 2 yarn and I'm going to start with the smaller leaf. You have a choice about how to start the leaves. Each leaf will be crocheted onto a leaf loop. I'm just going to hold my yarn and pull up a loop to start working, but you might prefer to attach your yarn to the loop with a slip stitch. I'll show you both options. To pull up a loop, I just pick up my yarn and make a fold in it to create something I can catch with my hook. There are no knots. I put my hook through the leaf loop, I hook the folded yarn and pull up a loop. I'll just start working with my yarn and make sure to weave the tail in well when I finish the leaf. Or you could put a slip knot on your hook, insert your hook into the leaf loop, yarn over and pull up a loop, and pull it through the working loop, and your yarn is attached. Once you're ready to go, the pattern for the small leaf begins with a chain of 2. And if you have a look at the leaf loop, we're going to start by placing stitches on this side of it. If you can, work the stitches over the tail, even if you started with a slip knot. It will help with weaving in the tail later. We're going to make 4 unfinished double crochets. Yarn over, insert your hook from under to the front around the leaf loop. There are 2 loops on the hook plus the leaf loop. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2, but don't finish that double crochet. We're going to make 3 more unfinished double crochets. Yarn over and insert the hook. I'm still working over the tail. There are 3 loops on the hook back here. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 for the second unfinished double crochet. There are 3 loops on the hook. When I yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. There are now 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. There are 4 loops on the hook. There are 3 unfinished double crochets there, so there's 1 more to go. Yarn over, insert the hook. There are 5 loops on the hook back here. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 6 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. And that's my 4th unfinished double crochet. I have 5 loops on the hook, and to finish off this side of the leaf, yarn over and pull through 1. There are still 5 loops on the hook, then yarn over and pull through 2 loops 3 times. Yarn over and pull through 2 once, twice, 3 times. When there are 2 loops left on the hook, carefully take the hook out. Turn the leaf over. Make sure the yarn is hanging at the back. Slip the hook carefully back into those 2 loops and start the second side of the leaf. This side also has 4 unfinished double crochets. Yarn over, insert the hook into this side of the leaf loop. There are 3 loops on the hook back here. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. That's the first unfinished double crochet, and there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. There are 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. That's the second unfinished double crochet. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. There are 6 loops on the hook. yarn over and pull through 2. There are 5 loops on the hook, and that's 3 unfinished double crochets, 1 to go, yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. There are 7 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. That's the 4th unfinished double crochet, and there are 6 loops on the hook. To finish this side of the leaf, yarn over and pull through 1. There are still 6 loops on the hook. Now yarn over and pull through 2 3 times. That's once, twice, 3 times. When there are 3 loops left on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. And then chain 1 to finish the leaf. I'll walk you through finishing it off and then we can admire it. Grab your scissors, cut that yarn, slide out the hook, tighten up that chain 1, and we're going to weave this in to finish off the leaf. So when you look at this leaf, you'll see that the center can open up like that. And when you're weaving this tail in, you can close that center up. So the first thing to be aware of is that this is a double-sided leaf. So when you're weaving your tail in, you don't want to mess up either side of it. So just be a little bit cautious with how you do your weaving in. I take the needle down into the leaf. And then I go back up again to secure the yarn. Then I take the needle down into the tunnel of stitches at the middle of the leaf so I can close up that gap. I do that by going over to the other side and then going up, pulling it tight, and that's closed that gap nicely. Now secure it so it doesn't open up again. I take the needle through to the other side and sew back and forth within the tunnel of stitches in the middle of the leaf. Cut that off nice and close. And don't forget, there's another tail to do. I didn't tie a knot, it's just sitting there, so I need to do a good job on it. I'll fast forward this section a bit. The center of the leaf is already closed up. I'm not doing anything special with this tail, just weaving it in. And that is the small leaf done. It's sweet, isn't it? It's like a little love heart. I'll show you how to do the larger leaf now. The large leaf also uses colour too and starts in the same way. Either you can slip stitch into the middle of the chain loop, or you can do what I'm doing and just pull up a loop and get started by chaining 2. It's similar to what I did with the small leaf, but this time I'm going to place 6 unfinished double crochets over the right side of the leaf loop. I'll work them over the tail to start securing it. Yarn over. Insert the hook into the leaf loop from the back of the loop to the front so the tail is also caught. There are 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. There are 2 loops on the hook, and that's the first unfinished double crochet. I need 5 more. Yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. There are 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. There are 3 loops on the hook, and I have 2 unfinished double crochets. Yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. I'll just move the tail out of the way. There are 5 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. There are 4 loops on the hook, and I have 3 unfinished double crochets. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop. There are 6 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. There are 5 loops on the hook, and I have 4 unfinished double crochets. Yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. There are 7 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. There are 6 loops on the hook, and I have 5 unfinished double crochets. I need 1 more. Yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop. There are 8 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. There are 7 loops on the hook, and I have 6 unfinished double crochets, so it's time to start finishing off this side of the leaf. To do that, yarn over and pull through 1. Next, it's yarn over and pull through 2, and we do that 5 times. Yarn over and pull through 2, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. There are 2 loops on the hook. Carefully take the hook out, turn your work over, make sure the yarn is hanging at the back, slip your hook back into those 2 loops and start the second half of the leaf, which will also have 6 unfinished double crochets worked into this side of the leaf loop. Yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That's the first unfinished double crochet, and there are 3 loops on the hook. We need another 5 unfinished double crochets. That's the second unfinished double crochet, and there are 4 loops on the hook. That's the third unfinished double crochet, and there are 5 loops on the hook. That's the fourth unfinished double crochet, and there are 6 loops on the hook. That's the 5th unfinished double crochet, and there are 7 loops on the hook. That is the 6th unfinished double crochet. There are 8 loops on the hook, and it's time to finish off this side of the leaf. Yarn over and pull through 1. There are still 8 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 5 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 3 loops left on the hook. Finish the leaf by yarning over and pulling through all 3 loops, and then chain 1 to secure it. And you can bring in your scissors, cut the yarn, slide out the hook, and I'm going to leave you to sew in the 2 tails from this leaf. It's exactly what I showed you with the small leaf. Remember to use one of the 2 tails to close up that gap in the middle of the leaf. Now that you know how to make the 2 sizes of leaf and you can see what they look like on your cord, you can continue on with covering your charger cable, single crocheting along it and creating chain 6 leaf loops so you can add leaves when you're done. Up on the screen now, you'll see I've put an idea for how to space out and arrange your leaves if you wanted some guidance. I have a couple more things to show you: how to finish off when you get to the end of your cord and how to secure the tails so your charger cover doesn't come unraveled. So come back for that when you finish single crocheting around your cord. As you get close to the end of your cord, keep compressing your stitches, pushing them together so you can work as many stitches as possible on the flexible part of the cable before you place your last few stitches on the wider end of the cord. This is your last chance to make sure you cover the cord really well, so squeeze in as many stitches as you can, and then work the last few stitches around the wider part of the cable. When you've squished in as many stitches as you can, you could finish off by chaining 1, cutting your yarn and pulling the chain 1 tight, then weaving in the tail. Or you could do what I do. I avoid the chain 1 knot and just trust that my weaving in is enough to keep my project intact. Either way, leave a decent length of tail and cut the yarn. Slide the hook out, thread the tail onto the needle. I apologize, but I'm going to make this weaving in look very awkward because I've wrapped the cord tightly and right before filming I lost my usual needle, so I'm working with a totally blunt tapestry needle. I'll speed things up a little so it doesn't take an age, but that's why this is a little bit jumpy and why I look like I'm losing a thumb war against an inanimate object. I try to do my sewing in on the back of the stitches because it's easier to disguise my stitches there. To start, get the needle down into the tunnel of stitches between the cable and the top of the stitches. Take the needle down past the wider hard plastic part of the cord to do your weaving in. I pull on the tail firmly before I start weaving in. Now I backstitch. I go back 1 stitch and take my needle forward a couple of stitches. Getting the yarn tangled around the cord is totally optional. Now I've sorted that out, I backstitch again into the tunnel of stitches and forward a stitch or 2. Finally, I take the needle back 1 stitch and then I take the needle out to the other side. Pull the yarn through and snip it. That's nice and secure. It's not going to come undone anytime soon. Don't forget to weave in the tail from the beginning of the cord too. Now that your charger cord is covered, you can go back and add in lots of lovely vine leaves and finish transforming it into something beautiful. When the leaves are all done, if you like the look, you can carefully twist your stitches around your cord. It takes quite a bit of time, but it gives a very vine-like look. After carefully twisting all my stitches around, I ended up deciding I prefer how it looks straight, so I unwound it all. If you've made it this far, I think you should subscribe to my channel. You clearly have wonderful taste in crochet projects. In case you're interested in the simpler pattern for a cord cover, there's a link to that video here for you. Otherwise, why not have a look at one of my other videos and find yourself a new project? Or if you're in the mood to just watch me open stuff and pull excited faces when there is always yarn inside the package, you could check out my playlist of unboxing videos. Hope I see you again sometime. See you later.